Hello and welcome to our show Health and Wellness, Myths versus Facts. I'm Gargi Rawat. Now, the definition of health goes way beyond the absence of disease. The pandemic has put mental as well as physical health and wellness into sharp focus. Awareness of health issues is important for visibility and community. The absence and accessibility or inaccuracy of information about chronic illness causes a lack of knowledge, which is worsened then by myths and fears as well as increased social media trust. Awareness of disease and symptoms is essential for screening and early detection, and if members of the public are aware of a disease and its symptoms, they're more likely to take action to prevent it from happening to them or go to healthcare providers for checkups. Also, chronic conditions like diabetes, heart disease, endocrine disorders come with complications associated with it. Therefore, it's essential to identify symptoms early and take corrective steps. Expert advice will help our viewers get the correct information and then to act accordingly. Well, joining us on the show today, Dr. Sajal Kamath, MD Medicine, DM Endocrinology, Aditya Birla Memorial Hospital, Pune, and Dr. Prabhu Rami Reddy, Consultant Diabetologist, Aditya Polyclinic, Hyderabad. Thank you so much, doctors, for joining us on the program today. And Dr. Sajal Kamath, I'd like to start with you. Women experience unique health issues and conditions, from pregnancy and menopause to other gynecological conditions. These cause hormonal variations and could predispose them to more health challenges. So if you could tell us a bit about that.
Yes. Hi, Gargi. Thank you. So yes, women do experience unique health conditions starting from puberty, extending up to menopause. So as a girl child enters her puberty, she has various problems like menstrual irregularities. Sometimes she faces problems with PCOS, dysmenorrhea during the menstruation itself, etc. Next, a woman also faces problems with regard to fertility, like conditions like polycystic ovarian disease, commonly as we know it as PCOS or PCOD, then endometriosis, fibroids, primary ovarian insufficiency. These are the conditions that can cause infertility. Thirdly, related to pregnancy, a woman can undergo stillbirth, spontaneous abortions, premature delivery, preterm labor, etc. Also, postpartum, post-delivery, she may experience postpartum hemorrhage and so on. Also during menopause, or we call something called as a perimenopause and menopause, she experiences various menopausal symptoms like vaginal dryness, hot flashes, etc. So yeah, these are the conditions that a woman goes through throughout her life. And this basically happens because of there is a constant change of sex hormones going on throughout her life from the time she enters puberty until her menopause and even thereafter.
All right. Dr. Reddy, now getting detected with pre-diabetes can be scary, but it's also an opportunity to take control of your health before you get full-blown diabetes. So what steps should a person take if he or she is detected with pre-diabetes at an early age?
The good news is that if a pre-diabetic develops diabetes, so they can stop or delay the full-blown type 2 diabetes by just changing their lifestyles, like, eating the right food and reaching and maintaining the weight and doing the regular exercise. So coming to the loss of weight, so if you lose weight, you can prevent or delay the full-blown diabetes. Just lose 7% of your starting weight, so you can prevent or delay the pre-diabetes. Not only preventing the pre-diabetics, also you can reduce your blood pressure levels and the blood cholesterol levels. And next, coming to the exercise part program. So exercise is a very, very important program in the diabetic prevention. So the recommendation is 45 minutes moderate aerobic physical activity 5 times a week is much more sufficient to prevent or delay the full-blown type 2 diabetes. So for this, you have to make a goal, set a goal to reduce your weight. And then coming to the healthy eating habits, like, maintaining and reaching the weight. So eat fresh vegetables, fruits, then lean protein like fish and chicken, and don't eat processed fried sugary food, and drink plain water instead of the sweetened drinks. So this will help you to reduce your weight and prevent or delay the diabetes.
All right, so important to know that, especially as many do get detected with pre-diabetes, and it's simple steps can help you prevent full-blown diabetes. Dr. Sajal, diabetes mellitus may occur in association with endocrine disorders. So what are other endocrine disorders associated with it? Which endocrine disease causes secondary diabetes?
Yeah, so as an endocrinologist, I deal with endocrine conditions, and I see a lot of secondary diabetes. Many endocrine disorders can cause diabetes apart from the regular type 1 and type 2 diabetes that we know of. People should also know about the other conditions that can cause diabetes. So commonly a lot of people take steroids for joint related issues. For now in the COVID pandemic, steroids are being used as a treatment. So in such cases, steroid-induced diabetes is one of a very common secondary cause of diabetes. There are a few endocrine-related disorders. One is called acromegaly. It is where growth hormone is excess in your body. So that is one condition which can cause secondary diabetes. Apart from that, inherent steroid excess in your body, which is called as Cushing syndrome or Cushing's disease as we know it, is also known to cause secondary diabetes. Secondly, in those people who have diabetes and thyroid disorders, we see a lot of thyroid disorders and diabetes being known to coexist. So in people with hyperthyroidism, the insulin metabolism is increased, and therefore the control of diabetes becomes difficult. So it may not cause secondary diabetes, but it can lead to poor control in those people who are diabetics. So yeah, these are the conditions which can cause secondary diabetes.
All right. Now, Dr. Reddy, when younger people are detected with type 2 diabetes, do they have more severe symptoms or do they develop complications sooner?
The younger people who develops the disease in the early stage, so they tend to get early complications. That means the 15 years after the first diagnosis of the diabetes. So in type 1 diabetes, the onset of the disease is very, very early. So as the onset of the disease is very early, you see many number of complications in the younger people. So it gets to the type 2 diabetes, we don't know the disease onset. So it can onset even in the early 30s and the 40s. So the complications will develop very late. So the type 1, type 2 diabetics patients, young patients, develop more severe complications as compared to the type 2 diabetes.
All right, Dr. Sajal Kamath, is it true that if you have gestational diabetes, which many women do, when they're pregnant especially, you're more likely to develop type 2 diabetes later in life? And if you do get gestational diabetes, is there something you can do to prevent the onset of diabetes?
Yes. Well, before we go into whether it is common for them to get type 2 diabetes, we should know what gestational diabetes is. So gestational diabetes is a woman develops diabetes during pregnancy, especially in her second trimester of pregnancy, that is between 20 to 24 weeks. So she requires medicines and insulin during the pregnancy. And once her baby is delivered, then the sugars come back to normal levels. So this is what is called gestational diabetes. What happens is there is an insulin mismatch, the insulin production or the beta cell function of the pancreas that we call gets affected during gestational diabetes. So yes, she definitely has a 50% chance of developing type 2 diabetes in future. And what she can do is first keep a regular check of her sugars. Firstly, soon after she delivers a baby, within 6 weeks, she needs to get another check done with her fasting levels, postprandial levels, and consult her endocrinologist or a diabetologist. And following that, at least once in 6 months to once a year, she needs to get her sugars checked to know whether they are in control or not. What she can do to prevent, maybe it's not completely preventable, but like Dr. Prabhu mentioned about the dietary modifications that she has to do, a healthy lifestyle that she has to maintain. Exercise every day, like he again said, 45 minutes of exercise per day with 2 days of resistance training for at least 5 times a week is what I would recommend a person with gestational diabetes to follow in order to prevent the occurrence of type 2 diabetes in future.
All right, and Dr. Reddy, are there different treatment protocols for managing diabetes in young adults compared to elders?
Yeah, the treatment protocols are maybe more or like similar in young diabetes and the older people. So in case of the type 1 diabetes, the treatment of choice is of course the insulin. In coming to the type 2 diabetes, even the children can have early type 2 diabetes. In them, the protocol management, the pharmacological management is same. So in both the younger people and the elder people, only the difference is the set of goals of the diabetes is different from the younger to the elder. So in younger, we go very stringent diabetic control, which we have aim to have HbA1c should be at least 6.5. In the older people, they are more fragile and the more prone for the hypoglycemic attacks. So we always try to get the HbA1c level between 7.7 to 7.5 or 7.2 to 8% even in a elderly, old, fragile people.
All right, well, we're talking about managing diabetes, managing our health. We'll slip into a short break and we'll be back with more questions for the doctors. Stay with us. Welcome back. We're discussing managing diabetes and managing our health. Let's go across to our doctors. And Dr. Kamath, excessive alcohol use has an immediate effect that increases the risk of many harmful health conditions. How does alcohol affect the endocrine system?
Well, yes, some amount of alcohol is recommended for your daily use, but excessive alcohol can affect the endocrine system. Just like the nervous system, endocrine system connects various organs, and it is an important organ system. It connects the central nervous system with the various endocrine organs. So yes, alcohol definitely affects the endocrine system. So for example, a person with diabetes who consumes excess alcohol can have hypoglycemia. That is, he can have episodes of low sugar, which is harmful for him or her. Secondly, alcohol also affects the microarchitecture of your bone and can affect your bone health and cause osteoporosis. Thirdly, it is known to cause various cancers. It can also cause various behavioral problems. It can affect the thyroid. It can cause thyroid dysfunction. Imbalance in your thyroid hormones can occur. That can also cause thyroid dysfunction. And also, especially in males, excessive consumption of alcohol can cause reproductive issues, can lead to infertility, and so on. So what is recommended, what alcohol can be recommended is per week a consumption of 140 gram of alcohol in a female and maximum consumption of 210 gram in a male is recommended, not beyond that. Can cause a lot of harmful effects.
All right, so people should keep that in mind. And Dr. Reddy, what testing should be performed in an asymptomatic patient with a random serum glucose levels that suggest diabetes mellitus that is over 140 mg DL?
In asymptomatic people whose blood glucose found to be more than 140 milligrams per deciliter, the recommendation to go for the two testings. One is the fasting blood sugar and one is HbA1c. The fasting should be less than 100 considered to be the normal fasting blood sugar. And if you have 100 to 125 your blood sugar, you are in the impaired glucose tolerance. So if you see the 91 to 99 milligrams per deciliter, this is the independent risk factor to develop the full-blown diabetes. This is regarding the fasting blood sugar. Coming to the HbA1c level, so less than 6.5 is the normal glucose tolerance. If you see your HbA1c is 6.5, 5.7 to 6.5, that is you are in the pre-diabetic level. So less than 5.4 to 6.4, that is the very high alarming for any time you can develop the type 2 diabetes. So these are the two recommendations, the recommendation of the test who asymptomatic individual is having the blood glucose more than 140 milligrams per deciliter.
Right. Dr. Kamath, as obesity is the most important risk factor for diabetes and even other diabetes-related complications, how is a person to know whether he or she is overweight? And, you know, if the person is overweight, how much weight they need to lose? How will they figure that out?
Yeah. So obesity has become a very common pandemic in India nowadays, and it is important for every individual to keep a check of his or her weight. So what is the most common measure that can be used is something called as a BMI, body mass index. So it uses just two simple measures, your height and your weight, to measure a BMI. So a normal BMI in an Asian population is considered between 18.5 to 22.9. Anything about 23 and above is considered as overweight. So you measure your BMI. If your BMI is about 23, then you are overweight. If it is about 27, then you are obese. And then we grade the obesity accordingly, about 30, about 35, and anything above 40 becomes morbid obesity. So this is the most common way of measuring BMI. But what happens is some have a high bone weight. Some athletes have a high muscle mass, so they can have a falsely high BMI. So in such cases, there are some other measures that we can measure, like waist circumference, a waist hip ratio, or skin thickness, the fat index, etc. So these can give you an idea whether you are overweight or not. Secondly, how much weight should he or she lose to get into back on track is you can lose around 5 to 10% of your body weight to by maintaining a healthy lifestyle and having that proper dietary management and lifestyle modification. Lose around 5 to 10% of your body weight and maintain a BMI of less than 23, and then that can get your life back on track.
All right. So that's how, one needs to calculate the ideal body weight for themselves. Dr. Reddy, are complications of all types of diabetes the same, or is there a variation in the severity of complications depending on the type of diabetes? If you could also tell us about the types of diabetes.
Yeah, we have types of diabetes like, type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes. Now we have pancreatic related diabetes like the type 3C like this. Even maturity of MODY, so maturity of diabetes. So in type 1 diabetes, the disease process, the onset is very, very early. So in type 2 diabetes, the onset of duration is we don't know. So even it can be developed in the 30 years or the 45 years or even the 60 years and the late onset diabetes also. So if in type 1 diabetes, the onset of disease is very early and known. So the complications are very high because the body is more exposed to the glucotoxicity. In type 2 diabetes, do you have similar sort of the micro and the macrovascular complications? But as compared to the type 1 diabetes, the complications are less severe in the type 2 diabetes because the body, the exposure to the glucose is very, very less.
All right. Well, thank you so much, doctors, for joining us on the program and telling us about the various things people need to keep in mind regarding diabetes, also their health. Watch out for pre-diabetes, and doctors told us how you can manage it from becoming full-blown. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Thank you all for watching at home. Goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you, Gavin.